Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Selling with Love podcast. I have a returning guest, a friend, a mentor, someone I've had the chance of working alongside at Mindvalley as he was the chief of strategy, and a man that brought forward amazing branding initiatives and continues to do so in his boutique brand strategy agency called Lucid Rock, where he works with entrepreneurs, artists, visionaries, helping them ignite global movements. For those who have been long-term listeners to the show, we do have an episode with Jeffrey where we talk about creating your transformational brand with the master of branding himself, Mr. Jeffrey Perlman. And today we're going to talk more about how has things changed? What is the state of current events, and what does brand have a role to play in this? The world is moving, shaking, and changing. So what do we do as business owners as we navigate these times and figure out what is coming next, which gives us a big insight on what we can do now? Mr. Jeffrey Perlman, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jason. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we were having a bit of too much fun before we hit record, having some casual catch-ups. And one of the things we wanted to kind of flip the script on the show, since we go way back, is you already know what we ask at the end of every show. And we thought we'd start there to kind of anchor the tone of the episode today, which is, hey, you're on the Selling with Love podcast. You're the branding master. What does selling with love mean to you?
Well, listen, the best brands in the world are artistic masterpieces. They are nothing short of that, right? They're the ones that move the human soul, the ones that transform people, the ones that people tattoo on their body, right? And so if you look at the artistic masterpieces of the world, they're not created so that the artist can get something. They're not ways to make money or even ways to create impact in the world. They're not done for an extrinsic benefit. They're done as an offering. The law of nature, the law of life is the law of giving. A flower comes into this world to give its nectar and then die. And sad is the flower that does it, that is not able to do that, right? A mother gives birth. Nature doesn't care about the mother. I mean, cares about the mother insofar as that she needs to protect the baby during infancy, during the growth phase. But your DNA cares about you giving more life, whether that's, human life or creative, or to create something of value. And in a world that is saturated with shitty brands trying to get something, and shitty people, frankly, trying to get something, trying to get famous, trying to get money, the brands and businesses and people that are here trying to give something and are aligning with the law of nature, these are the brands that are authentic. These are the brands that stand the test of time and scale like crazy. Steve Jobs wasn't using Apple to get rich. Apple was his offering to the world. A world without Apple didn't make sense. The same way that Michelangelo was chiseling, he wasn't creating David, he was liberating David. A world without David didn't make sense. So it is these brands that are done as an offering. From a place of love, not from a place of fear, right? Fear is what the instinct of fear is. Let's get something. Let's get money. Let's get, that's fear based. Love based is let's give, let's offer, let's help, and those are the brands that truly stand the test of time.
Oof. I love this. And one of the things I'd want to get some perspective from you is that it seems to me to come from a place of love. Oftentimes there might be a message in our head that says, hey, I need to put my oxygen mask first before I get to a place that I can give to others. And I'm wondering, is that a false narrative, or are there some things that we should be getting ourselves set up before we start realizing that we want to be able to come from this place of giving and build a brand in such a way? Because it's almost like if you're not there yet, then you are looking to use and leverage a brand for getting because you don't feel like you have enough already.
Yeah, but that, I mean, I know billionaires that don't feel like they have enough already, and so they're still trying to put on their own gas mask, the oxygen mask.
Build their
Uh,
shelter and the apocalyptic shelter first before I help anyone else.
exactly, exactly. And then there's the artist, right? Then there's the artist that I don't know, you know, a guy like Steve Jobs, back to him, I think his house was a normal house. He didn't have any furniture in it. He because he wasn't thinking about, how much do I need before I can get. What he was thinking about was, how do I die with the music out, which he did. By the time death came around, it took nothing but a dead man. He had left everything on the canvas. And so it's that disposition. It's not, yeah, there's a lot less fear in that body than there is in other bodies. And the way that you get that is you when they say that Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or whatever have a distorted reality field, uh, what that's what it looks like on the outside, but on the inside, what it looks like is they've spent so much time inside of their dream, or Walt Disney or something like that the real world is not that real to them. This world is more real to them, and so they start to really project that onto the world, and and not seeing their dream world come alive is like, it feels like death to them. So it's necessary to kind of create this, because there's an incongruence in the world. It's like the world doesn't make sense to me unless this thing exists in it.
As you're saying this, I can't help but see what would naturally result in being around someone like that or working for someone like that is you would see someone that would be perceived as a natural leader because they're so obsessed with this big vision. But a term that you've been using since the beginning is artist. And although I've heard the term that the world seems to have a crisis of leadership, it seems to me, under your frame, there actually is a crisis of artistry. Would that be a fair statement?
There's a crisis of vision. Let's call it that. There, yeah, yeah. There's and I think that this is the only job that will be left. AI will take over all of our jobs. The same way that the machines of the age of industry, of the industrial revolution, took over all of our jobs. Before the industrial revolution, the only jobs that mattered, the only jobs that were available were, you know, based on strength, farming, hunting, right? These were, you've never read a book. You don't, there's no education. The only thing you know how to do is work the land or kill animals and to eat. And machines took over most of those jobs. And and then the smart people, the people that survived, were the people that said, wait a minute, we're more than physical strength, we're also minds. And so the scientific revolution and and the age of industry and all that. And then we over-identified with the mind. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, right? And now we're automating the mind, and everybody's terrified because it's going to take over all of our jobs. But it's going to teach us that we're more than minds. We are the things, the things that receive a creative revelation. The creative revelation is a very unique experience that that everybody that's created a masterpiece has. The writer's writing and the characters come alive and tell her the way the story's going to go, or the song writes itself, or the Stephen King says that writing a great book is like finding a fossil in the ground, and your job is to get it out of the ground with as little damage as possible, right? It's the creative, bro. It feels like you're discovering it, not creating it. And that is something that is not done through the neural network of the brain. That's my contention. That is something that is done through the electromagnetic field of the heart, which is the seat of intuition. And I think that, and there's a particular type of intuition that the people over at the Heart Math Institute have been studying, which is called non-local intuition. And I believe that that's where the creative revelation happens. And that's where the visionary artists happen. So everybody's going to have to become a creative genius, if you will, a visionary leader, because now you have technology to materialize any vision that you want, but it is only the enlightened visions, the visions that come from that sacred place, that are going to create new worlds and create new brands and masterpieces that are going to move humanity forward. So I think what is in front of humanity is three paths. The path of addiction, dopamine, phones, porn on social media, like addiction is in front of us. Related to that is obviously, mental illness, and death by mental illness. And the third path is evolution, right? The farmers that evolved into city dwellers and factory workers and mind workers thrived. And now the intellectual workers, the mind workers that are that can evolve into heart people, into creative people, into artists. Those are the ones that are going to thrive. Everybody else is going to perish.
Well, as you say this, the one thought that comes to mind is like in the original state, farmer, hunter, gatherer, everyone had their own, call it genetic predispositions of being stronger, weaker. And there's a lot that you could do to get stronger, build habits, be more effective within that realm to, establish your life, have your own thing, your needs provided. And then we went to this, mind revolution. And then again, there seemed to be some that were a bit more predisposed to being successful with working the mind, solving problems. But we also had a lot that we could do to improve that facet. Matter of fact, industry started establishing institutions that would allow the collective to kind of level up in that skill set. And, the majority of the world gets some sort of education, whether that's the right education or not. I'm not going to go there, but there is definitely some basics that are way beyond what we saw 200 years ago. And now it seems as we go into that, there's still a few pioneers, maybe some lucky people that are able to be in a space to kind of develop that. Some of them have maybe the natural disposition, but do you imagine a sort of industry, a sort of institutionalized development of these types of skills being something that we'll see within our lifetime?
Yeah. There's many people that are working on this in various ways, tangentially, but a creative revelation is something that you don't go get, you receive it. So there's something passive in it, but you can create the conditions for you to be able to receive it, what I call being in a lucid state. And there's many people, like I just mentioned heart math. Heart math has been training people to get into heart coherence, is what they call it, for the last 20 years. They have proven that the heart, first of all, sends way more information than the brain sends to the heart, way more, like 9 times more. And that the heart sends and receives information. The heart is the most electric organ in the body, and every electric charge has an electromagnetic field, and the electromagnetic field send and receive information. That's how our cell phones work. The information that the heart sends and receives is intuitive, and they have proven that in a peer-reviewed studies, and shown people how they can be, lead more with that organ. There are companies like Mind Valley. We're teaching people, meta skills and soft skills, how to be creative, how to take risks, how to love, how to leave somebody that you don't love. Um, you know, uh, these are skills, life skills that are important to live a creative life. Um, and so yeah, so yes, I think that education is moving in that direction. Uh, slowly. Humanity's also yearning for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about this whole like crisis of artistry and the crisis of vision. It's like maybe it's because there's more access to news, but it does seem like right now it's very hard to find fun things to rally about. And I don't know if it's a question of awareness or it's just a general trend, but by the time we're recording this, I don't know when this is going to be released, but I just saw a giant rocket get caught by a tower, and that was the coolest thing I've seen all year.
Yeah,
And I'm
amazing.
not seeing that many things that are really inspiring. For those who don't like I'll be more specific. We saw SpaceX launch their giant rocket and catch it. And like, love or hate Elon Musk, I'm not seeing a lot of people that are doing some crazy, cool, visionary stuff that's actually getting us to rally around creativity and a mission that's beyond ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. We, one of the ways to get into this lucid state where you receive a creative revelation, is sensory deprivation. And if you think about it, a lot of artists, traditionally have used drugs and alcohol to kind of break their sense of reality a little bit, so that reality becomes a little bit more malleable and they can go in there. Um, I'm not suggesting that people should do that. Other artists like Dali, he would fall asleep holding a glass, and when he on a chair, and when he would fall asleep, he would let go of the glass. And then he would wake up and paint what he just saw. So the sensory deprivation, breaking that kind of hard feedback loop that reality is giving you, your brain saying this is reality and there's nothing else, right? Or you could also look at artists that when they lose the sense that they work in, they create a masterpiece. Like Beethoven created Moonlight Sonata after he lost his sense of sound. So sensory deprivation, we've never been as stimulated as we are today, and obviously stimulated with fear, because that's what the algorithms have realized is what draws more attention, and we live in the attention economy. So your fear is highly profitable to certain companies, and it is what keeps you stuck on the phone. It is the thing that doesn't let you see beyond the phone and beyond the sensationalist news, and the thing that doesn't allow us to be creative. Because we're hyperstimulated, we can't be creative in a state like that. One of the things that that I like to experiment with is melatonin. Um, you know, the dream hormone. Going into a dark room or into darkness meditation, taking melatonin and being sensory deprived, turning off all that crap, turning off the world so that my mind can project onto a blank canvas.
In a world right now, especially if you're listening to podcasts, and I'm going to address the listeners for a minute, it seems like we're constantly also giving you the next thing. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You should be, here's the 5 steps in the morning to have success. It sounds like we're getting a bit of a fresh air here of a message that's saying maybe less is going to get you a little more, in the sense of taking a step back and actually taking away all the daily stimulus to figure out what the hell are we even doing here. Because, coming back to where we started, where there's a lot of shit brands. Yeah, there's a lot of shit people, but there's a lot of good people with shit brands. And I think I want to speak to those people right now, because I'll work with good people that might be catching themselves in a new rat race. I've started my business. I'm trying my own practice. And I seem to be just following the next thing and serving the next clients, trying to catch up with bills. We've kind of spoke about how even billionaires feel like they need to get a bit more oxygen for themselves before helping others. But if I want to do something that's meaningful, I want to build a brand that's giving, I want to have meaning. It sounds like one of the best prescriptions to give people right now is we need to slow down and just retune our senses and realize that we have an innate technology or sense within us that can probably allow us to make some better decisions that we've vastly ignored in this noise.
And the heart chakra in yoga, it's the chakra of fear and love. And so I don't believe there are bad people in the world. Like I believe in fearful people that are driven by fear, and they do what we call bad things. And then there are love people who can put up with a lot more, who can tolerate fear. They're devoted to love, and so what I would ask entrepreneurs, look, I don't, I don't have a website. Lucid Rock doesn't have a website. We don't work with, we select our clients. And one of the things that I'm looking for is, how well they can tolerate fear, how well they can tolerate being suspended in disbelief. Are they just trying to get something, trying to exit their company for $1 billion, or are they here trying to give something? And the other, are they love-based or fear-based? And I immediately I discard the fear-based people,
Jeffrey, I'm excited with what you're creating with Lucid Rock. I'm excited about the message you're bringing to the world when it comes to branding, because I think it's something that we need to spend a lot more time on. There's a big gap missing in how to actually change what the brand is, which is more of a renaissance of an artistry that I think is deeply lacking, where there are tons of brands out there, and there's some of them that you really know they're just out there to take. And in a world that seems to be in crisis of so many different kinds, we need to have a call to action for people to rise up and realize that we all have a place to play at whatever scale it is, to be an agent of giving at whatever size we choose to play. And we can also make powerful decisions to align ourselves with the brands and the movements that are actually making humanity a better place, as opposed to being a tool of extraction and death that's making us worse off in general. And I'm very glad to have you on the show to be able to share this perspective and to wake up people that might be getting into this cycle of addiction, having crises of mental health, and choose the fact that, hey, evolution is also an option, and here's how we get there.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I love the work that you do. Keep doing it. And thanks for inspiring me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And for everybody else, build that amazing brand. Take the time. Biggest thing I've taken away from this conversation is we need to slow down. And the timing is perfect, because I'm spending a weekend slowing down and reassessing to tune into that heart, because I get caught into this rat race. And I think it's always a cycle. Like I get an impulse. That's what gives me the breakthrough. And then I kind of like spin my wheels, and then I have to come back to, let's reassess, let's check in. And this is the activity I'll be doing this weekend. I hope you get to find yourself an opportunity to do the same. Jeffrey, once again, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure catching up.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.